if your darkest moment becomes your biggest turning? Today's guest went from childhood trauma and addiction to a life of purpose, sobriety, and service. This story will challenge you, inspire you, and remind you that healing is possible one step.
And if you or someone you love is struggling with addiction or trauma, stick around because this conversation is filled with raw truth, real hope, and powerful insights on recovery, resilience, and reclaiming your life.
I'm Naty.
I'm Veda,
And
and
we are
we're
here
here
to
to thrive.
thrive.
Welcome back to Thrive by the Rising Muse. Today's episode is both heavy and hope filled. We're honored to be joined by Meredith White, a Kentucky certified peer support, specialist, recovery content creator, and founder of the Facebook group Simply Sober. Meredith has been sober since November 1st, 2020. Yay! And has dedicated her life to helping others navigate addiction and recovery in non judgmental and inclusive ways. I like that. Her story includes early childhood trauma, me too, addiction, prison, and redemption. And what's so powerful is the way that she's chosen to be radically open about her journey to healing. Meredith, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, ladies. I'm so super excited to be here.
We are
Um,
excited.
and I do have a really, I do have a really strong story. And for some people, it's too much, and for some people, but that's my reality. And you can judge me. It's okay because you will, and a lot of people do. But you know what? At the end, I think you'll be like, wow. I just want you to look at me and see hope, and that's what I want.
Amen.
Well, you know what I'm going to say to you? Just like Pope Francis. Who am I to judge?
Yeah.
But people do, and
Oh,
people.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Of
and
course.
and there's a lot of hurt people in this world.
Mm-hmm.
So hurt people hurt.
Yes,
Yes.
they do.
So let's start from the beginning. You started your journey with addiction and trauma very early in life. Can you take us back to your childhood and how that happened?
I would love to, and I would like to, if you would don't mind, I would like to read a tiny excerpt from a poem that I actually had published in a book that kind of goes with that, and this is how I
Absolutely.
started it out.
That's awesome.
And this is after I had to learn to pretty much rewrite again and learn to think again and learn to, put words together again. I didn't know how to speak when I came in off the streets. I knew slang. I was like, "What's good with you?" What's happening? That's how I
Mm-hmm.
spoke. So I had to relearn this. So this is where I learned. How does the happiest girl in the world turn into a hopeless junkie? No voice, no hope, no one to talk to, spending most nights chasing the high, trying to numb the pain. It started out innocently enough, just a drink here, a hit there. Before I knew it, I was cashing in my frequent flyer miles to rock bottom. Even going to rehab at 13 and ODing at 16 couldn't keep me from going back. For 34 years, on again and off again, departure and arrival stops, alternating between life on the streets or living in the woods until eventually I landed in a dilapidated trap house to call my home. The holes in the wall match the holes in my soul. So let me take you back. I was the happiest girl in the world. Like, I did all the stuff. We lived in a small town. Everybody knew my family. I used to sit on the piano bench with my granny in church, and my dad had the local insurance agency, and we did all the stuff. I did the ballet. I did the tap dance, and I did the gymnastics. And my mom had us in private school, and we had little smocked dresses, and just the whole stuff. Everything, life was amazing. I had my little brother, I played with my friends. I climbed trees, and I had dreams, and just I was so happy until I learned of the word divorce. At 8, my parents said they were getting a divorce, and my world crumbled. As I remember screaming at the top of my lungs when they told me that. So life got real bad after that. My dad had immediately had another family, and where I was going to meet my stepbrothers and stepmother, and my mother was shot, and that was real scary. And then my dad went to jail for it. And she ended up dropping the charges because she said that she wanted us to have a dad. Um, so I didn't witness necessarily violence, and I didn't witness it at an early age. I witnessed the aftermath. I witnessed what happened after. And so about 8, I had this really great idea that I was gonna be really, really bad, and I was gonna make my parents work together, and they were definitely gonna get back together. You know, it was definitely gonna work. Well, it failed miserably. It was a bad idea. I started stealing, and I got away with it. But I wanted to get caught, but I got away with it. And then I was addicted to the rush. That was my first addiction at 8. I was born with an addiction. I was born an addict and an alcoholic. My grandfather died of cirrhosis of the liver. And that's no excuse. We don't ask for what we're born with. We don't ask for the cards that we're dealt. Mental health, addiction, whatever it is. But you know what? Once we know that and we realize that, the choices that we make after that are all on us, and it's up to us how we manage that and what we do. So, I may have gone off topic.
No, darling, no. There is no judgment here.
Yes.
And you are definitely in a safe space.
Yes.
Somebody hit it too. There's a lot of girls. There's a lot of people. About when I was about 12. So and this will come out. My stepbrother started molesting me and got me pregnant, and I had to fight my way. At the 13, I was a 13-year-old baby. Through an abortion line with people screaming. I mean, this is when the protests were real bad. I mean, and they were calling me a murderer, and they had these big signs. I don't remember anything about the place or whatever. I remember the signs, and I remember them calling me a murderer. And I remember that shortly thereafter, I went to rehab. But you know what? Everything was swept under the rug. It never happened. So I went back to trying to be a normal kid, you know what I mean? Like trying to get my life together. And, my mom did the very best that she could. Like she was doing her best, you didn't talk about PTSD back then, but she was living with her own PTSD, like from any loud noises, she was always really jumpy. And now I look back and I see that, and I feel really bad for the bad teenager that I was. But I tried to be a good teenager again. And, and I was on the cheerleading squad and da 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 da. Well, I got caught with marijuana, and all of a sudden, kicked off the cheerleading squad. Became suspended. Became the kid that nobody's parents wanted them around because I was the one when they were the one that gave it to me. I didn't even bring. I didn't know anything about it. I was just influence. I was the one that got caught holding it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, and when I turned 16. That's when that happened, and I met a 24-year-old, and he introduced me to the world of cocaine, and I had arrived. I had arrived. I loved it from the minute I met it, and I saw it in large quantities, and then doing LSD and going to see the Grateful Dead, and just a lot, a lot. And I overdosed. I overdosed on cocaine when I was 16. My mom had to bring me in, I had to have my stomach pumped. I was sent to the girls' home, and I went to 10th grade twice. They had this policy like that you couldn't just show up and take tests and pass. You had to actually physically be there. So they wanted me to do it again, and I was just like, not happening. So I went and got my GED, and some things happened, but let me see. I probably went way off your questions. I was just kind of going on the timeline.
Baby, you are right where you need to be.
And so I wanted to tell you, I moved back to the small town, and I met this man, and I met him at the youth group. He was leading youth group, and we started doing whitewater rafting, and I fell in love with whitewater rafting and getting on the river and going to the mountains. The outdoors are where my soul is, and that's where I see and I feel God the most. Like that's where. That's where I look at the trees, and I didn't look at any of that stuff when I was getting out. I didn't even know what day it was. I didn't know whether it was raining or sunny. You know what I mean? Like, and so I love being in nature. I don't know what my point was to that. Sorry.
You were talking about when you were 16 and you met this man?
Oh no, when I was 19. So I was 19.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, so I met him, and I thought he was older. He was 34. I was 19, and he was successful. And we did a lot of stuff together. And well, I was with him, and I'd happened to go to the gas station one night, and somebody came up to my passenger side door and got in my car and put a gun to my head. And he took me around to the local college and raped me in the field. So immediately I got myself together and I drove myself straight to the police department, and I left my car there. Everybody in town kind of knew something was up because it was a small town. My car was bright blue and it sat at the police department. So I didn't leave my house for a while until I went and eloped to Jamaica. And so, and after that, that's when I started working as a kindergarten assistant. I was the librarian assistant. I would get myself together and have moments of clarity. And I had all these dreams of being this great person and what I could do. And because I knew how smart I was, they always used to say, she's so smart, but she does not apply herself. And I did not. I did not do the work. So I got married, and then cocaine showed up again. And so I was soon divorced. I got pregnant, and then I met my demon, which was crack cocaine. And crack cocaine took my next 25, definitely like zoom, gone. It takes you to places you ain't never been before. I mean, I've been raped at gunpoint. I've been robbed at gunpoint. I've been beaten. All these things, like that come with life on the streets. And, my children, I had all the dreams. I was great pregnant. Like, I was so good. Like, I was so healthy. I set up her house. And for her first year, I was so good. And I was trying so hard. And then I failed again. And then when you lose your child, you talk about somebody hating themselves. You talk about somebody who has to stay high just in order not to kill themselves on a regular basis because they're such a failure. Yeah. I hated myself. I hated myself till halfway through my recovery, until I did a self-love challenge, and I had to start looking at myself in the mirror. And somebody also explained it to me. They said, I don't know about you. See, I'm a little feisty. I'm 4'10", and I got a little bit of a temper that comes with the red hair. So somebody explained it to me like this. They were like, well, if you were in a room with somebody in a small room and they were sitting there talking to you, telling you you weren't worthy, you were ugly, you didn't deserve it, how long are you going to sit there and put up with that? And I'm like, yeah, knowing me, not much, not very long. So I stopped doing that to myself. And I started talking nicely to myself, and at first I didn't do it. So sorry, I've gone completely off all your questions.
Again, baby, you're fine.
What you've gone through, this trauma,
Yes.
it has affected your sense of identity. It's affected your safety growing up and as an adult. This is exactly where we're supposed to be right now. You have not gone off.
You're not off the rails.
You are sharing with us your delivery story.
It's because I want you to know that, like, no matter, I did everything for a hit, man. I did, I also, there were times I rolled with attorneys, I had a sugar daddy that was the head, who I got arrested with, the head doctor at mental health. Yeah, so I had all the way up here to all the way to the lowest dope boy. You know what I mean? And I ran the streets, and I lived in the streets. I slept in the woods. I ate out of a dumpster. And I can tell you, Aldi was my favorite because they put the fruit on top at night. And so, when you've been that far, when you've lost your kids, you've hurt your family, you know what I mean? The thing is, you can't live in that. If I sat there and I thought about all that stuff and I lived in it, if you sit in it long enough, I would still be high. I can't live in it, and you can't live in it. If you have mom guilt, if you have any kind of guilt, if you feel bad about the things you've done, if you don't like yourself, if you don't like some of the things you've done, guess what? All you can do is wake up tomorrow and make tomorrow a better day and be a better person tomorrow. Don't lie to anybody. Don't steal from anybody. Don't cheat on anybody, and help somebody every day and be the best person you can be. And the choice is yours. The choice is yours. The magic is all inside of you.
Absolutely.
And you don't need a lot. Like, you don't need these to do these great things. You know, you asked about why I created Simply Sober. Simply Sober for me is a lot of things. So the name came about. I've always just like, I needed things simple. AA, I went to AA, I did all the stuff. I did the 12 steps. I got the sponsor. I did the 90 meetings in 90 days. I am not putting AA down. Don't put that out there. But I learned that on TikTok, when I started recovering out loud, and I recover out loud for those who suffer in silence. Whether you have to suffer for your profession, you're not allowed to speak on your addiction. You're not allowed to show it, or whether you're not here with us to speak
Right.
anymore. That's why I do it. And to show people. And when I started recovering out loud, I started learning about this whole world of people recovering. All different ways, man. Like, and all different. And who am I to judge somebody for how they're living? Let me tell you something. I don't care how you're. I don't care if you're medicinal. If you use medicinal marijuana, harm reduction, Suboxone, methadone. I don't care what you do as long as you're living. Because if you're living, you can help the next person that's dying.
Right.
But you know what? You can't. People say talk about harm reduction. Let's talk about harm reduction for a minute. People don't know about harm reduction. They're like, oh, well, aren't you just making it easy? Well, let me tell you something. They can't recover if they're dead.
Right.
If somebody had not Narcaned me, I have probably had Narcan 8 or 9 times. To the point where my lips were blue because my heart, I was done. Had somebody not had Narcan and used harm reduction, I wouldn't be here having this conversation with you.
Right.
So, you know, like, I'm getting in, like, the Kentucky Harm Reduction Center, the Kentucky Recovery Community Center, these people down here, those are the people I want to be in. Like, you know, I want to take my story and make it local also, you know, help my local people. But these,
Let me ask you something. Harm reduction is when like you start stepping down, like scaling down while using.
no, well, harm reduction, let me see if I can explain it the best way.
Okay.
Harm reduction is different paths of recovery. There's methadone, there's medically assisted
Right.
therapy. There is medicinal marijuana treatment.
Okay.
It's legal now here in Louisville.
Uh-huh.
There is also giving them safe exchanging needles so that they're not getting dirty needles. You know,
Right.
giving them safe cotton because you know
Gotcha.
if they're getting disease, they're out here spreading this. You know,
Right. Correct.
Alcohol
Correct.
and these
swabs
centers,
and
these
stuff
people
like
who are out
that.
here
Yeah.
giving their time doing this, they're
Right.
saving lives. They're saving
Mhm.
lives, and you know what I mean. And
Mhm.
a lot of people don't understand it, but you know what? They don't really have to. And these
Mhm.
harm reduction is very important. And I was so closed minded when I was stuck in AA, and now I'm open, and I want a safe space where everybody can feel celebrated, loved, get some tools. I created. So I started Simply Sober. My Facebook page got hacked at 75,000 followers.
Oh.
Yeah, so I started the Simple Recovery Society, and what the Simple Recovery Society, it's going to be my business. Like, I'm going to also make this my business because this is what I know. I know addiction, and I know recovery, and I know hope. And so the the Simple Recovery Society is going to be a place where I want to have, I can get sorry,
It's okay.
excuse I lose them. I want to have people that know more and was like experts. Sorry.
Yes.
Right.
I want to have, you guys know how to be
Counselors
experts. I
and
want to
stuff.
have experts that offer tools and
Coaches.
do
Yeah.
it simple because
Right.
recovery doesn't have to be as hard as people make it.
Mhm.
People make it so hard. You got to have a little bit of hope and you got to become willing to do what it takes to change your life.
That's it.
If you're
Definitely.
not willing, you might as well shut it down. You might as well not waste your time because you're wasting your time. If you're not willing, I had to be willing to listen to simple suggestions that people made me. And it wasn't hard. Like, like one of the biggest ones is living in gratitude. Gratitude is not just a list. Gratitude is a way of life. Gratitude is a way to live. If you find yourself and you're always complaining like I was all the time, I was getting sober with my mother on Zoom during COVID. It was, and I was the hot mess express with no brakes on. Okay, and I was complaining, and my mom and I had a hard, and I was like, what am I doing? So I started flipping my thoughts. And when instead of arguing, I started to sing in my head, I'm so grateful to have a mom. I'm so grateful she's still here. I'm so grateful that we still have a relationship. And I started doing that with things in my life. Like, I didn't want to sweep or something like that. I mean, I'm so grateful to have a house to sweep. I'm so
Mhm.
grateful that I'm allowed
Mm-hmm.
to. So
Mhm.
I start, and it doesn't come natural. You have to practice
Mm-hmm.
things to make them work. It
Right.
doesn't work if you don't work it.
Right.
If you don't change, nothing changes.
Right. Exactly. Meredith, when you were talking about the harm reduction,
Mm-hmm.
I remember I had to write a paper.
Mm, okay.
Um, and both of us are educated
Mm-hmm.
in behavioral health.
Oh, awesome.
Um, I had to write a paper on harm reduction, and I had to write a paper from both sides,
Mm.
the
Okay.
pro and the con.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I had to write it from a side of people saying, um, you're making them want to stay
Right.
drug addicts, and why are you giving them this, and why are you, a lot from that side. But the side that really touched my heart was when I realized that there was harm reduction centers where they
Yes.
were giving out new needles so that
And the ones
they
in
wouldn't,
ours, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and they
We're
wouldn't
getting
have to keep
citations in
using them.
Louisville. They're giving us five. They're giving us citations in Louisville. These organizations that are out here helping save lives because they
Hmm.
don't like what we're doing.
Hmm.
I think the part that they don't understand is if you don't have the clean needle, you're still going to use. If you are in the middle of
Yeah.
using, you're going to use. The fact that they have clean needles
Hmm.
and cotton balls of
Hmm.
alcohol swab or whatever doesn't in, doesn't encourage using.
It's
They were
it
going to
makes
use
it
anyway.
safer
They
for
just
everybody
doing it
else.
cleaner.
It makes less trips to the emergency room for
Right.
the emergency room workers. It makes, you're handing out Narcan, so you got less trips that they've got to come down and do this.
Yeah.
Right.
You got less sexually transmitted diseases going around
Right.
because they give out condoms.
Right.
Hmm.
And that's not it. They give out, and see, when these people come, they see us, and they see these people at the harm reduction center recovering, and so you know what? Sometimes they get a seed planted,
Mm-hmm.
and they see some hope, and
Hmm.
maybe, just maybe, they'll hear that story that resonates with them, and
Yeah.
maybe, just maybe, their time will be like, man, I want to do
Maybe I
that.
can try
Yeah.
to be sober too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to try it. They can't do it if they're dead.
Yes.
That's
You
true.
can't recover if you're dead.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true.
And and a lot of people, in recovery, when you're truly in recovery and you have faced death and you have been around the worst of the worst people in the world, who just really want nothing but terrible things for you,
Hmm.
you find the sweetest, nicest people with the biggest
Mm-hmm.
hearts that would never do you wrong, because you know what, they don't want that's not true recovery. True
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
recovery is changing your whole life. It's
Mm-hmm.
not it's not finishing a program. It's not
Mm-hmm.
finishing your rehab. It's not finishing your detox. It's changing. It's a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
Correct.
And
Definitely.
it doesn't have to be that hard. Like,
Yeah.
as long as you're willing, like every day I'm learning. But man, I'm gonna tell you right now, I got some of the I can't share it, but I got some of the worst news that you ever want to hear in your life last night.
Mm.
Oh, I'm so
And
So
sorry.
sorry.
and so, but the choice, I almost canceled several things, but you know what? I made the choice.
Yes.
I have to keep going forward. I
Yeah.
can't take backward steps,
Yeah.
but you know what? I can't do anything if I'm not sober.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and I want everybody, I just want everybody to know that recovery is possible. Find a path that works for you. And you know what? There are people out here that support it. There
Mm-hmm.
really are people. And
Hmm.
guess what? You're going to find your people.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Connections are so important.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah.
Find your tribe. Like when I got sober, okay, during COVID in 2020, we'll speak about the soccer coach, that was on there. So, I was doing real good because I was just drinking when I arrived here and with a suitcase on a Greyhound bus. In October 2020,
California sober,
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
call
I
us.
came here with one suitcase on a Greyhound bus
Uh
and a
huh.
bunch of mini bottles, and
Mm-hmm.
I was just drinking. But that
Mm-hmm.
was progress because I was no longer. I quit shooting heroin on my own. I quit smoking crack on my own. I quit doing
Hmm.
meth on my own, and I quit doing pills on my own. So
Mm-hmm.
I was just drinking, and well, that didn't work too good because I was hiding alcohol bottles, and we found out one morning my son was going to a soccer game, and we found out somebody dear to us had overdosed, and so I chose to start drinking heavily on the way to the soccer game. At the soccer game, I tripped over the trash can in front of all the spectators and made a complete idiot out of myself, embarrassed my family, embarrassed everybody. Well, my son's soccer coach, long story short, that was the day I got sober. I looked at my mom when we got home after fighting with my daughter on the side of the interstate, and having my phone thrown into the middle of the road. I looked at my mother and I said, I need help and I need help now. And I knew right then I was about to change my life and I was never going to drink again. I knew it. And it was the same with the other things. I knew when I was done, I was done. I knew I was about to change my whole life. I didn't know how, but I knew it was going to happen. And I started walking upstairs to get my stuff together because I knew if she didn't take me, I was going to take myself. And she took me to Our Lady of Peace to detox. And I didn't stay there. I kind of told my mom a fib and told her that they were kicking me out because of insurance because I didn't want to stay there. So she came and got me. Sorry, Mom. And she took me to another place, and then the Healing Place, which is an amazing place in here in Kentucky. There's a free it's a free rehabilitation center. So but I've kind of found out about their program, and it's kind of a hardcore program, and I wasn't trying to do that because I've already been through prison. I did a year of prison. I've been through some tough programs. I wasn't about that. It's really great for some people, but I wasn't trying to do this. So I called my mom again, and Mom came to pick me up again. And so I get home, and the soccer coach calls, and come to find out he's sober. And he said, I want you to go to this. This is how God works. God has put so many people in my path, this sobriety path, y'all. It's crazy. You know what I mean? And so God rest his soul. He's not with us anymore. Josh Richardson, and he helped save my life. So he told me about a program at the Brook. I called them every day for 2 weeks, and I got in with the counselor, Christopher Cohen, and he told me about myself, and I did not like him for it very much at all. And he called me the Hot Mess Express because I couldn't sit still. I was like this I was a whole hot mess. Okay. So, and about that time, I didn't really have anybody to talk to, and my family was barely tolerating me. They had, inside school, so I started making TikToks. My son was like, make TikToks. I was like, okay. I had nothing else to do. So I started making TikToks. And I saw somebody on there. His name was Recovery Mike. He was doing a recovery live. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And so I've done some. And now I'm getting close. I'm trying to hit 100,000 followers, you guys. I'm trying so hard. I'm at 96,000 followers on TikTok.
Nice.
And with 6.2 million likes on my videos. So I've been, the story of recovery is getting out there. I get a lot of hate. But it's just okay. When you decide to tell the world that you were a crackhead drug addict that lived on the streets that lost her kids, people are going to kind of like look at you. They like to see that, and then the mean people, the trolls, they focus on that. They miss the message. They just see the mess. And instead, you need to see the messages instead of the mess, because this is where I am today, and it's a miracle. God didn't say me to be quiet, y'all. And I've been quiet for a long time because I didn't have the confidence to come out here and speak. And I didn't have the confidence because of my mouth and my teeth. I worked real hard my first year of sobriety. I bartered. People are like, I can't get out there. I can't do this. Man, I went to an AA clubhouse and put I put an index card up saying I needed some work. Well, it ended up, God comes again. I worked for an oral surgeon, and I bartered out with him my surgery and my teeth. Well, my teeth have not fit since I got them, and I lost 47 pounds. And now I'm trying to find a dentist that I can get. Medicaid will cover your teeth, but they won't cover the implants that you need to hold them on. So I am like, look, but I can't tell my story because my teeth fall out, and it's I have all these things that I deal with on a daily basis, that are really tough, but I choose every day to just deal with them and still make it the best that I can. The choice is mine, and I put a smile on my face.
We are so proud of you.
Yes, we are.
And I've just been waiting to tell you that.
Thanks,
We
ladies.
are so proud of you because it's like you're transparent. You tell your story. And I feel it. I feel you. I feel your passion
Yes.
of wanting to help other people.
I have to. I used to cry out to God, and I'll tell you that's one thing. I pray. I even on the streets would pray for other people, but I didn't. I was kind of like a rabbit. Like, okay, if I still like this, and if I don't see him, he don't see me. We ain't gonna talk right now, but I know God's there. And
Yeah.
I would pray for other people. I took my faith with me everywhere I went, and what I mean to tell you, I had angels in the crack house. I had angels that brought me in the crack house. And I had a man that went and walked and got me a sandwich because I was so dehydrated laying on a couch. I was gonna, you know what I mean? I had angels in the crack. I had people that saved me all around the way. And I've had since then. God has put these teachers, ladies. You wouldn't believe the things that I'm getting to do. You wouldn't believe, like, when I first moved to Louisville. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to communicate with everybody online, because I can't get out, don't have a license, and nobody can get out anybody and be around anybody. So I started networking anyway, because I knew I believed in myself enough. I knew I was gonna have a business one day. Didn't know when. And I knew, and I knew I wanted to meet some women out in the city, or locally, so I could connect, because connections are so important to me.
Yeah.
So I started getting in these Louisville like business groups and stuff, connection groups with women, and I started meeting some women. And so now, look, y'all, I have my license. It took me when I went to get my license, a lady said, "What is it going to take to get your license?" I said, "I got to go to DUI class." She paid for it that day. She took me 3 hours to DUI class. I passed my permit. I studied for my permit, passed my permit. I was so excited, only to find out that I couldn't get it because I had charges in 2015. Ladies, I don't remember 2015. I had to Google Map where they said I was. I didn't even remember, like, so I did it. I was like, yep, I'm sure. Let me get an attorney and pay for that and whatever. So yeah, I was driving 80 miles an hour with no driver's license. So had to do that, go to court for that, get that done. Then I got my license on my 50th birthday.
Oh, yay.
And that same lady gifted me with a beautiful Honda Odyssey van.
Wow.
And so now I can get out in the community, and it's just gotten to where I can get out in the community. But you will see me down at the Harm Reduction Center. I got the chance to go the other day for the first time. I got the chance to go to the Louisville Recovery Community Center, because that's where I want to be. These people, look, that's the type of people I want to align with. And y'all, I'm in a women's network. It's called the WOA Network in Louisville. There's 3,000 women, and guess what? I show up and go to events, and at first I didn't feel like I belonged there. I didn't feel like. I didn't feel like, because I didn't have a solid business. I didn't feel like whatever. But you know what? I didn't feel like I was worthy of that. But you know what? Now I talk myself into that before I go, and I'm like, I walk in and I just want to talk to everybody, because you know what I learned? When you stop trying to see how you're different, and you start trying to see how everybody's the same, and you try and see maybe what you have that's the same as somebody else, it makes it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, it does.
I've had amazing teachers that have changed my life. A lady named Holly Hartman kind of found me in the middle of she is an amazing woman, and found me kind of she was one of my sponsors. And she's one of the founders of the WOA Network. Literally changed my whole life in recovery. And this is a woman that, that she did this out of her heart for wanting to help somebody else. And gave her time to me. She knows more about me than any person in the whole entire world. Because I did the 12 steps with her, and she let me finish them and took me through them. And she taught me. She wrote the self-love program, and she taught me that. I had teachers. I had a lady. I did a How to Wear Your Crown program with Rachel Greenwell. Yeah, and I didn't know about wearing my crown. Look, I wake up and wear my crown now, thanks to that program, and thanks to that for her sharing her story. Leah Bomar made me a published author and taught me about abundance. But and these people that God put in my life, and I'm a cussing Christian, ladies. I'm not gonna lie to you. I know God still loves me, and I try real hard. But like sometimes I can't help it. But I am a cussing Christian. But you know what?
God's never done with us.
God,
We're all learning something new.
Without God, there's nothing. And He was there all along. All those times I cried out to Him, and I was mad at Him because I knew He had the power to make it different. It's because He was there all the time. He was giving me the strength to do it. I was just putting the work into the wrong things. And until I became, I sat. This is my turning point. When I was sitting in this trailer on the bed where I'd found my best friend dead. I walked in and found him dead on the bed. And I was sitting there, and when I mean to tell you, I wasn't high, but there was this dark cloud over me.
Hmm.
And I looked around, and I felt it. I felt the darkness. And I looked around. I said, I don't have anybody to talk to, and I can't even talk, and I'm going to die. And I
Hmm.
made that choice, and my kids flashed before my face, and I knew right then I wasn't going to die. I saw a mouse in the corner, and I saw a roach over there, and I said, I'm not going to die, but I don't know how I'm going to get out. And that's how I knew I had the tiniest bit of hope right then. I didn't have it for me. I had it for my children because I
Hmm.
knew I wanted to become a mom to them. And I'd like to say it happened like overnight, but it didn't. It was a process, and it was baby steps. And I would not suggest the way I did it to anybody, except for once I got sober, 11/01/2020. I learned how to stay sober. I knew how to put the dope down. Everybody knows how to run out. Everybody knows how to put it down. It's a matter of keeping it down
Mm-hmm.
and a matter of learning how to stay sober.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that. How was the transition as you got sober and getting your kids back? How was that transition?
So my kids were older. God did get the opportunity to have to live in the house with all of them at one time.
Hmm.
Again, before my oldest is 25 and 26, and I have a 21-year-old and I have a 16-year-old. But we all got to live in the house with my grandbaby at one time, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because God gave me that one opportunity again to feel that, like
Hmm.
it, even with all the arguing and stuff, it was awesome. But
Hmm.
you know, my saying is you got to fit in where you get in. If for any reason you lost your kids and you got to get them back, guess what? When you get them back, you better be patient and you better fit in where you get in because they already have a life that they've made without you.
Hmm.
And it's not you got to go in there. You got to go in there gentle, and you got to win their trust back. And it takes time, and it takes
Mm-hmm.
patience, and it
Mm-hmm.
takes consistency, and it takes going in there slow and letting them come at their pace. And you know what? If they've already got a life, you fit in where you get in. If you learn that little saying, you fit in where you get in. You go see a big group of people, and you kind of look around. Well, you fit in where you get in,
Hmm.
and that saying kind of works for me for a lot of
Hmm.
things. But yeah, I co-parent with my mom. I have my son here 2 nights a week, and it's I get to take him to school. Like I get to I get to fix him breakfast. I get to and
You get to be mom.
I
Yeah.
get to be mom. And
Hmm.
one time he said he's always my kids have always been real supportive, but my son's always been like my biggest cheerleader, like my little buddy, and he said, "How can you be a mom without a license?" And that stuck with me. So now I got a license with an emblem for his private school on the back. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a soccer mom, and I love
Mm-hmm.
being a soccer mom. I
Yeah.
take it very seriously. Like I love going to the games. I just got all kinds of cute clothes at 90% off. So I got all green and gold for
Mm-hmm.
the colors because I cannot wait to look fabulous for the games. I love to dress
Mm-hmm.
up. I
Mm-hmm.
love to get a bargain, and I love to dress up.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I love to wear skirts when I'm working, and I work out and cut the grass in a skirt. I promise.
Oh, that's fun.
I do look.
I love
I,
it.
I cut the grass in a little skirt and whatever. People say, "Why you cut the grass in it?" Because I can.
There you go.
I mean, because you know what? I've learned, and some more things recently have come. I had, some issues with my heart. I'm waiting now for my heart monitor to be read and some more stuff. And I'm 50 and fabulous. And you know what? I've wasted a lot of time, and I'm not wasting more time. And how somebody else really feels about how I look or whatever, it's just okay. And there's some. What did I want? I wanted to share something with you, and I forgot.
Sure.
Um, I just want people to know that rock bottom is somewhere you got to stay. And rock bottom, I think it's time for a departure flight.
Mm.
And and if you're sitting there and you're like, man, I'll quit tomorrow, man, I'll do this, or let me wait till this. Well, guess what? The perfect time is never gonna happen to do something,
Mm-hmm.
ever.
Mm-hmm.
Just like posting. Oh, I'm gonna post when I look better. This is my big thing. I'm gonna do this or whatever. Got to do it. You got
Mm-hmm.
to do it. And I've listened to the Mel Robbins 5 4 3 2 1. And that helps me get up and get going.
Hmm.
Mel Robbins is changing, and is changing and sobriety and make it simple. If you listen to some of her podcasts and apply it to your sobriety, like, it's amazing. I could go on for that, but that's for another YouTube day.
Okay.
But I was willing to turn off my trap music while I was listening while I was working and put on some podcasts. And so now, like, you get in what you put out. You put out, you get in what you put out, or you put out what you know what I'm trying to say. So if you're constantly putting negativity in and not doing anything positive, and if you don't take a few minutes to be quiet, I'm not saying you got to sit there and meditate for 3 hours. I take 5 minutes to turn off your phone. If you say, "Oh, I can't meditate," let me show you a good one. What do you feel? What do you taste? What do you hear? What do you think? What do you see? Just that's a meditation, and what it does is it brings you present. It's a simple 2 minute. It's a simple reset. It's a simple way to bring in breathing. Breathing was one of the. When I went to treatment, you guys, I did inpatient. Wait, it was outpatient intensive therapy. Intensive outpatient therapy, dual diagnosis because I'm diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So I did both of them. And the first thing he taught me was to breathe. And I was like, I'm not trying to learn to breathe. I'm trying to learn to quit drinking. But that was one of the most important things he taught me. And we would breathe and have a meditation every morning for 10 minutes. At first, during that 10 minutes, I'd be over there on my phone. But by the end of it, I looked forward to that 10 minutes of calming my body. I run on high anxiety, ADHD, and so learning to calm myself. And when you're an addict, I feel like I can't speak for other people, only myself. So myself, I always felt like I was running and chasing and going, and I couldn't. And my insides were always like this, and I was on this invisible clock, and Rachel, the one I was telling you about, the How to Wear Your Crown program, suggested to focus on a candle for 2 minutes and see if you can do that for 2 minutes. Well, I started doing that in DUI class with a Windex bottle, and I was bored. And I made that Windex bottle my candle, and I learned. And you know what I found in that, y'all? I found my inner candle. I realized, wait a minute. And I can bring myself together. I call it my mushka. Mushka? I go, mushka. And everybody who knows me knows I need my mushka. And they'll be like, you need to go and mushka. Because I do. I have to get I call it pulling my together. You know what I mean? Like, when everything else around here is going nuts, you got to protect your peace right here.
Yes.
You got to protect this. Because if you don't know, and nothing nobody else is going to, and you have to learn to protect this right here so you can deal with everything else out here. Because if not, you're going to still be running on everybody else's energy and everybody, you know.
So aside from coming for when you fit in, you have a phrase of every little bit helps.
Yes.
Can you tell me how you got there and what does it mean to you?
I sure can. So I have trouble self-motivating, and I call it laziness, but I don't really think I'm lazy. I just don't know really what it is. I think part of it's ADHD, and I get stuck, and things get overwhelming. So, I tend to let things pile up really big, and so I have to like do a little bit of something. So, and I'll say just a little dabble do you, a little dabble do you. I'll just okay, man, and if I start, I don't feel like getting up and brushing my hair. But if I just do a little bit of it, hey, every little bit helps. So I did a little bit. It looks a little bit better. 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna brush the other side. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna look a little bit better too. So every little bit helps. So if my floor looks bad and I don't feel like mopping it. But I'll get a little bit. Well, it looks a little bit better. So and then I celebrate myself for doing that little bit. And then I do more. But you got to celebrate yourself. You have to celebrate your small wins. If all you could do was get out of bed today, pat yourself on the back. You have to celebrate. It's so important to celebrate. I even I have a hard time seeing my achievements even because I still have those voices in my head. You're not worthy. You know, you're a bad mom. You shouldn't have done this. Da da da. I got a tennis racket that I use in my hands, and they're invisible ones, and I knock those voices back. When I don't let them sink in my brain, I hear my, I hear them like, get out of here. And that's what I call my tennis racket, and I try and bat them back. So,
I
but I
love the
usually
way
do
you
because it
motivate.
comes up a lot. And sometimes I have to write my accomplishments down because I'm like, why am I not seeing everything I've done? Why am I not seeing, you know, because my addiction doesn't want me to, because my mental health issues don't want me to, you know, that all these things are working against me. But you know what? So it makes sense that it's a little hard. You know, I think I handle being bipolar and being in recovery and having long-term effects of drugs, you know, and I was in a place when I was very young, or when I was a teenager, I forgot to tell you, called Chestnut Hill. My parents had a very hard time getting me out of, where they did some experimental medicine on me, and I don't know exactly what, but I'm neurodivergent. I just learned this word, and it fits me perfect. I learn differently, but I realize, y'all, I love to learn, and there's so much I want to learn but I also get intimidated, and I get anxiety real bad learning because it's the fear of it's just because I know it's going to be hard, and it's that fear, and you know what that fear is? It's the fear of hard work. Because you know it's going to be hard. So it's the fear. It's the fear of hard work. That's why it gives you anxiety. Because you know it's going to be tough.
Well, you can start applying a little bit. Every little bit helps.
Every little bit
For
helps.
that too. You know, whatever goal you want to learn, you know, you read a page today, read another page today. If it's a
and just do
course,
it
one
a
class at a
little bit.
time.
And you know, and like me, and instead of, you know, like my closet, okay, so I took all my clothes back to my closet, and so there's a pile of stuff that needs to be, you know, but that's progress. So I do it a little bit at a time, so that, and when I take things in little bits at a time, it makes it easier for me, and I don't have to look at everything so big, because, you know, like I told you, I like things simple, I like them real simple, and the more simple I can make them, the better it works out for everybody.
Absolutely.
Definitely. You have been so open. Your childhood trauma, um, drinking as a child.
I did start drinking at 11. And my first drink, I got blackout drunk the first time I got drunk, and well, not blackout, because I remember crawling up my grandmother's stairs at 11. And I knew, I was like, yep, can't wait to do this again. And you know what it was? Because I didn't have to feel anything. I didn't feel anything, and I knew that's how I wanted to feel. I didn't want to feel anything.
And I think that
I either wanted to feel everything, or I wanted to feel nothing.
Right. And I think that with addiction, that's one of the issues that people, you were talking about how the fear of the hard work. People who are usually in substance abuse addiction, because there's many addictions, do it because they don't want to feel anything. Part of getting out is starting to feel those feelings and remembering those things.
And
that is not a picnic.
But let me tell you something. They hurt. They're hard. But they won't kill you. They might feel like it. Trust me. And they might cut deeper than you'll ever imagine. But guess what? They're not going to kill you. But that dope will.
Exactly. Yes, it will. Yes,
but that dope will. And I found out, excuse me, I got a little touch of it. It's these Louisville allergies. That's why I'm drinking this tea. I found something else that was shared with me by a great teacher. You don't have to deal with all of it at once. I have something, like I said, I got some really bad news last night, y'all. I'm about to have a lot going on. And all I can do, instead of taking the big ball of it that's in my chest right now, it's in my heart, that my heart's having a real hard time with, taking a little piece of it. Okay, for this next 15 minutes, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to cry. I'm going to probably get upset. I'm going to allow myself. But I'm going to put my big girl panties on and I'm going to start getting my stuff done and get myself together. And then I'll allow myself a little bit more, a little dabba-doo, just a little bit, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Just do a little bit of time. But then get yourself together. Get some more stuff done. Do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because people love you and are depending on you. Or on me, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then allow yourself to do it again. You know, you have to allow it because when you aren't feeling these feelings, not feeling them is bad.
Yeah.
But when you sit in them too long, such as guilt and stuff, that's going to keep you high. You can't keep sitting in it. You know, there's a saying, if you sit in here long enough, it's going to start to stink.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully it starts stinking real bad and you cry and you get up out of it, you know?
Amen.
Because otherwise you're going to sit in there and smell. And that's all you're going to do is smell because guess what? That's just how it works.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
The
ma'am.
reason why people, you know, things don't work for certain people, they'll be like, oh, I tried that, it didn't work. How long did you try it? How long did you try it? Try it for a week. Try something for a week. And if that doesn't work, because you know what? When you're in recovery, you don't have any routine. Not normally. Not any dad that I've ever met. I've met a bunch of them. And you know, I lost my train of thought again. Is that ADHD?
The lack of structure when you're
Yes, and it's very structure is important. Now, like I said, I'm neurodivergent. I learn differently. My structure isn't like your structure. Your structure ain't gonna work for me. Find what works for you.
Yeah, that's so good. We are so proud of you.
Thanks.
And I want you to do this. If someone is listening and they're at rock bottom right now, what would you say to them?
I would tell them to hold on. I would tell them to find one thing to be grateful or hopeful for. And I tell them to, you know what, a little dab will do you. Just have that tiny bit of hope and be willing. You might not know how you're going to get out of your situation. You might not have any idea, and it might look real bad. But if you have a tiny bit of hope and you become willing, and if you're a praying person, and you better pray to God, and God will give you the strength. You have to do the work. And it doesn't have to be hard. Don't make it so hard.
Thank you.
Fit in where you get in. Find your tribe.
Yes.
Fit in where you get in. Find your tribe, because there is somebody for everybody. If you like something, put it in. You know, put it in. Find somebody that you align with, because that helps you have a connection, and that helps have somebody hold you accountable, and that helps somebody, you know, like to vibe with. And connections are so important.
They are.
Yes.
Thank you so
Ladies,
much.
I have been so enjoyed my conversation with you, and I just want to tell you,
loved it.
I am so proud of you, ladies. I really am. You know, it's not easy to step out on faith and do what you're called to do. It's really not, and it's not easy to put ourselves out here in front of a camera, asking to be judged or asking for people to like us or not. So that's why, you know, I don't even look at numbers or anything. I look at, like, what can I do? What can my, and like this, I prayed to God before I started this. I asked God to give me the words to help the right person. Whoever's listening, if this can help you in any way, just let this be your sign that it's your time. Don't wait till Monday.
Right. Start right now.
We have been very blessed by your story.
Thank you, guys.
We appreciate it. To all our audience, go make her get that 100,000 K.
Thank you. Yes, follow me on TikTok. I'm Lily42003 on TikTok, and my YouTube
we're have
channel.
All that in
you guys got all that?
Yes, we're gonna put it in the description so that they
cool.
can find you.
I'm gonna be working really hard on my YouTube channel, and I'm gonna be making this a business as well, because your story, and I want everybody to know that everybody has a story. And everybody has a story, and your voice matters. It doesn't matter what you've done. I just want to say, it doesn't matter what financial barrier you're from. It doesn't matter what color you're from. It doesn't matter what your rap sheet looks like. It doesn't matter what your addiction, mental health, or diagnosis is. You can do it. You can recover.
Amen.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you
You're
so
welcome,
much.
ladies. Have a great night. I had so much fun with you.
We did too.
We
I loved
truly
it.
enjoyed
You
it.
made this very easy for
Yes,
us.
you did.
And so did you. And I can't wait. I can't wait to tell all my followers to come and see you, ladies. You're
Oh,
just
I would love
awesome.
it because
Thank you
we
so
don't have
much.
anywhere near as many followers as you do.
Yeah, but you guys are on radio stations and all kinds of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
look at you all out there.
That's what our goal is.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be great if we could make the money.
Right.
But our number one goal had to be
Help
if I
someone.
can reach
One.
one person.
If I can reach one person.
If I can reach one.
Yes.
Let me
It'll
tell
be
you,
worth it.
I said the same thing, and I wondered why. That's what I said. I yelled at God, why me? Why did I have to go through all of it? Guess what? Because I can help
That's why.
somebody with every single one of those things. There's not anything
Yes.
really there's not much I haven't been through.
Yes.
And you know that somebody can't resonate with me or see me or look at me, and God was like, hey, you know, you've been in the light long enough. Now you Meredith White, and you're going to bring the light.
And let me tell you something. As I was listening to you, know that your story not only will impact addicts, there's other people that may not have addictions.
No,
That
people
can
with
resonate with you.
domestic abuse survivors,
Right.
sexual abuse survivors,
Right.
mental health, people with mental health
Right.
issues. You know,
Correct.
there's not much that I am not, rolling with here, and that's why I want everybody to know that any of those things, I've been through all of them, and guess what? I
Yeah.
survived them all, and I can smile
And
every
you're
day
here
Yes.
to tell the
Yeah.
tale.
Yeah.
to tell the
yes.
tale. And if
Absolutely.
anybody's struggling, my messages, I do answer messages. I do connect back with people. I do engage with people, and feel free to reach me on one of my direct messages. I will answer back.
Thank you so
You're welcome.
Thank you,
much.
Meredith.
Ladies, have a great night.
You too.
Okay.
So much for tuning in today to Thrive by the Rising Muse. If today's episode moved you, please share it with your friends, subscribe, and leave us a review. It helps others find these powerful conversations.
Follow us on social media. Remember, we are at The Rising Muse on all platforms. Remember that we're trying to get to 1,000 on YouTube, so please tell everybody to subscribe. Also, if you're experiencing a mental health crisis, please dial 988. If a loved one is in a mental health crisis, please dial 911 or take them to the nearest emergency room.
And if you think you're in a domestic violence situation and you need to reach out and talk to someone, you can call 800-799-7233, or you can text 887-888. Please make sure that you're in a safe space when you're reaching out for help.
Until next time, take care of your mind, your heart, and your spirit. Keep thriving, and remember, you are never alone.
And don't forget to thrive.
Have a blessed day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.